Deadpool and Wolverine has been in the works for a while. 5 years, 1,667 days to be specific, unless you're watching this on literally any other day than it was released, but who's counting? I'm happy to say that we have finally made it, gang. It's genuinely surreal that we're so close to the film after all this time. It feels like just yesterday it was announced that Hugh would be returning as Wolverine. Now here we are, and I've been thinking about this movie non-stop. I mean, my brain is working overtime, theorizing and trying to put together the pieces of this film, so that means it's time for rampant speculation as I give you my final predictions for Deadpool and Wolverine. And by all means, feel free to come back to this after the movie releases to make fun of me for how much I got wrong, because there's no way I'm making it out of this with 100% accuracy. But here's the thing, I'm going to try and make very specific predictions here, not just vague ideas that don't go anywhere. We all know Deadpool's going to make some dick jokes, that's not anything groundbreaking. I'm here for the big theory, so without further ado, let me get to my first one and tell you how I think the TVA will be revealed as the true villain of this movie. I know Loki literally just had a huge shift in how the TVA works, so you may be a little confused right now, but just hear me out. I don't trust Mr. Paradox for a second. Take one look at that man and tell me he does not look like a guy who's plotting something devious. Especially when you cast an actor like Matthew McFadden, who's most known for playing an absolute gremlin on Succession. The trailers are trying to sell him as someone who's working alongside Deadpool for the greater good, but I'm not buying it. I think it's gonna go like this. The TVA come and arrest Wade for his crimes against the timeline from Deadpool 2's post-credit scene, and to their credit, he absolutely deserved that. There's no world where time travel is safe in his hands. But they'll get Wade in custody and give him two options. He can either be pruned or help clean up the timelines, similar to the offer that they gave Loki. So far, that all lines up with what the trailers have shown us, but I think they're feeding him a lie to push an ulterior motive. At the start of the movie, Wade is lacking purpose and has seemingly retired from being Deadpool. While being arrested isn't exactly great, the deal with the TVA gives him something he can do that he's actually good at. It's a new lease on life as he's out there killing people who get in the TVA's way, all in the name of making an actual difference for once. Perhaps they can lean into how Wade feels like a screw-up, and this job is something where he can actually make a positive change in the grand calculus of the multiverse. Meanwhile, they're just using him as a pawn to help rewrite the sacred timeline. I have a feeling that Mr. Paradox isn't a fan of the new direction that the TVA is heading. It could be really interesting if he was this TVA traditionalist and went rogue with a bunch of other agents to try and do things the old-fashioned way. They don't want there to be free will and see it as helping the universe by letting there be one single timeline. I mean, take a look at this endless expansiveness. There's no way that every single person there's a uniform vision for existence itself, right? I'd love to dive deeper into the weird culture at the TVA and see a side of it that isn't run by Hunter B-15 or the GOAT OB. The Loki series has also already shown us one group of rogue agents, why not give us a different one now? This would be a really fun way to spin the familiar and take it in a new direction that shows how this cosmic organization presses on in the face of a Loki takeover. As for how Wade figures out the truth, maybe they force him to prune the Logan timeline from existence and in a meta way he refuses. That way they can acknowledge how they aren't touching Logan and that character arc stays intact. These woods here we see in the trailer already look like the area where Logan took place, and you see Deadpool ruthlessly murdering agents in a beautiful bloodbath, so I don't think this part of the theory is a stretch either. Then you just have Wade lose the fight and get sent to the void and bam! The multiversal road trip with Wolverine can get going. This is definitely the theory I'm most proud of. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas in there and a real possibility that it happens in the film. Another thing I'm very confident is going to happen in the movie is that they're finally going to give us a canonical explanation for why the X-Men don't exist in the MCU. Obviously, you and I know that the real reason is the complicated rights deal with Fox over the last 20 years, unless you've been in a coma all this time and this is the first thing you're watching after waking up. In that case, hi, welcome to the 21st century. Have fun learning about Skibbity Toilet, Fortnite, and 9/11. But as I was saying, we still have no clue why the X-Men don't exist in the MCU 616 universe. They've been shown to exist in other worlds, so what makes the sacred timeline special? I think there's going to be some pretty simple reasoning, honestly. The TVA's original purpose was to prune any timeline that led to a Kang variant, so it's easy enough to say that every time the X-Men existed, Kang also did by sheer coincidence. If you really wanted to specifically tie him in, you could say that Kang is a mutant, but I think that takes away from how impressive the character's genius is if he has powers that let him be that smart, so just go with a matter of circumstance. It's a bit of a hand-wavy explanation, but at this point, I don't see how it can happen any other way. Anytime someone with a mutant gene started being developed, the TVA would just swoop in and prune them before anything dangerous could happen. Now that Loki is running the show and allowing free will again, mutants are starting to pop up as the gene is finally allowed to develop and they can live. That right there solves both the past and present mutant questions. Ever since Loki, chronologically speaking, mutants have began appearing in the MCU. The first example was of course in Ms. Marvel when we heard that incredible theme hit, confirming that she would be a mutant rather than an inhuman in the MCU. Namor soon followed in Wakanda Forever, proving that it wasn't a one-off and it was the start of something important. I'd like to think that this is all careful planning and that Deadpool and Wolverine is about to confirm my silly little theory. It works out too well in my opinion, so I feel like there's some validity to this. It isn't just my usual delusion. villains. Okay, how about one more prediction before we get to the real fun stuff? Let's talk about this version of Wolverine. Who are we dealing with here? Is it the Logan version, the main X-Men movie version, maybe even the X-Men 97 variant? Those are all wrong, and if you said yes to any of them, you must now sit in the shame corner. I think it's safe to say here that this Wolverine is a completely fresh take on the character. It frees them from any baggage from those Fox movies and leaves Logan untouched. When it comes to his backstory though, I think I have a good theory as to what that is. I would bet good money that this Wolverine comes from a more comic-accurate X-Men universe that we're briefly going to see before they're all ripped to shreds by Cassandra Nova. Wolverine's healing factor leaves him the last surviving member as he flees from the scene and plans to live the rest of his life in solitude out of shame for letting his team down. A nice added layer to all this could have him escape the universe altogether and hide out in the MCU's sacred timeline. The bar we see him drinking at here in the trailer could be located there as he tries to drink away all his survivor's guilt. They could even tie that into the man fights with metal claws and bar brawl Easter egg from She-Hulk and explain it with that origin. Then, detecting an unwelcome presence in the universe, the TVA would send Deadpool in to tie up loose ends, and that's where our story begins. Wade is of course a huge Wolverine fan and would spare his life and try and get him that same deal, hence why some trailer shots have Wolverine in the TVA itself. This backstory would not only connect Wade and Logan together naturally, but it pays off that tease and gives us a new take on the character. On top of all that, a rumor I saw a while back is that Wolverine's yellow costume is going to have sentimental value to Logan in the film, which I think is nice. After waiting 24 years for this moment, it's smart to make it feel like a big deal in the narrative as well. If you then go and make it so he hated wearing that costume until his team died, then you can have him wear it in their honor. It adds this depth to his character and plays into him being an angry man with a heart of gold as he teams up with Wade to make things right and stop Cassandra with this second chance, finally living up to the hero role. Plus, we can then get Deadpool making fun of the black leather costumes as much as possible, which I need so bad. X-Men 97 did a great job starting that, but I have to see Hugh talk about how he would prefer yellow spandex over black leather for my own catharsis. Those cowards over at Fox need to pay for taking away my beautiful colored costumes. How can anyone think that this boring black leather is better than these? You'd have to be some stupid producer who has no understanding of these movies in the first place and is doing everything wrong! I'm sorry, that was clearly a trigger for me, but I can't promise it won't happen again. Let's just move on to a different topic for the sake of my own sanity, and that is the second half of this video, my cameo wish list. It goes without saying, but these movies are more than just cameos. The story between Deadpool and Wolverine is what I care about first and foremost. I could go without any cameos as long as the film is good. That being said, we already know that there's going to be cameos, so we may as well have some fun with it. These are the people I want to see appear in the movie in no particular order. I did save the best one for last though, because I need that so bad. Ooh, foreshadowing, ooh, you want to watch the video to the end so bad. Up first is someone who we can all agree got screwed over by those Fox movies, James Marsden's Cyclops. They utterly wasted this perfect casting in every way. It still pisses me off to this day. He should have been the face of those movies, but instead he was reduced to a punching bag to make Wolverine look better. I need this movie to fix that and let Marsden cook in the role. Even if it's just for one scene before he gets popped like a balloon, do my man justice. Show him as the capable leader of the X-Men that we all know he was meant to be. Have him outshine Wolverine on the battlefield as general audiences wake up to seeing how awesome Cyclops is. Make him look like the coolest character ever. Continue the Cyclops redemption tour that X-Men 97 started earlier on in the year. If there is a god, maybe we'll even finally get to see him wear the iconic blue and yellow spandex as well. Whether that be the belt look or the human condom, I just want to see this man in the most comic booky costume imaginable. Then you can have him die in a glorious death, but not before they give me what I want. Up next are two characters that I'm honestly shocked aren't in the movie already, Domino and Cable. I hope it's just because they want to keep it a surprise, but I need to see them back. Both of them played such pivotal roles in Deadpool 2, so it feels weird to have them excluded from this film. I don't need them to have starring roles in the movie alongside Wolverine, but just having them at Wade's birthday party in the beginning would be a really nice touch. If they're not there, I'm going to be mildly disappointed, but they better at least explain where they are in the film. Domino could be off doing her own thing, but she's such a cool character and my favorite part of that previous movie. I really hope that she makes the jump into the main MCU and we get to see her back, not only because of her cool powers, but there's still so much to do with her. As for Cable, that man just got trapped in the present, so he's gotta have a future with Deadpool somehow. I'll even take a post-credit scene, I'm just desperate to see more of them. Another character I'd like to properly see is Hydra Bob, Deadpool's cowardly sidekick. He made a brief appearance in the first Deadpool movie as one of Ajax's goons, one of his henchmen. I've got to stop saying that word now. They legally couldn't have him be a Hydra agent since Marvel owned the rights to those bozos, but now they finally have a chance to. It could be something as simple as Wade runs into him in the void with full Hydra getup and everything on. I do think it would be funny if a variant of Bob was working for the TVA though, and Wade kept trying to convince him he was actually a Hydra agent. You could make so many jokes with him, so I think it'd be a fun little inclusion, even if it's just for a moment. From all the trailers and rumors surrounding the film, it looks like the majority of the cameos we're going to be getting are from the original X-Men timeline. Pyro, Lady Deathstrike, Juggernaut, they all come from those movies before the reboot, and that makes sense. Those characters haven't been seen in well over a decade, so there's more nostalgia and all that, I get it. But I think it would be really fun if you had one character from the First Class timeline appear. Have them be out of place and constantly confused why everyone looks so different. Ideally, it would be Sophie Turner's Jean Grey. You can have this big moment where Logan is about to see Jean again for the first time since the incident, and then she turns around and it's the younger version he doesn't realize. The sheer disappointment on his face would be so funny and worth all the subversion. It could also give Sophie a brief moment to actually have good material to work with as Jean, which would be really nice to see. Those movies screwed over so bad. She could have been something special playing one of Marvel's most important female characters, but instead we got whatever the hell Dark Phoenix is. Two characters I have no doubts will appear in the movie at some point are the X-Men Origins version of Deadpool and Wolverine. Seeing them all cross paths would be a huge full circle moment as Ryan and Hugh met on the set of that first movie. Their friendship is what led to this second chance at a team up between the two happening in the first place, and it would be really cool to see just how far they've come since then. Seeing the contrast in their costumes alone would be surreal. It's night and day, those designs between good and bad adaptations. They could relentlessly make fun of how boring they looked, and I wouldn't even complain if Deadpool shot that version and waited a few more times. Also, minor spoilers ahead, but merchandising has confirmed that Headpool is going to appear in this movie. He's the zombified version of Deadpool, who is literally just surviving as a head, but for this movie, I think it'd be hilarious if he was the Origins version instead. He was left off as a head the last time we saw him, so it writes itself. Have that little menace fly around, terrorizing our Deadpool, before Wolverine just punts him like a soccer ball out into the abyss. They're most likely going to bring back these characters because it works way too well not to, so do something new and fun with them. Deadpool and Wolverine has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. If you've been on comic book Twitter for more than 5 minutes, then you've probably seen this tweet more times than your own family. I'm just going to let that scroll over there for as long as I can because God is it exhausting. But basically, they should bring Darwin back just to kill him again. You may as well embrace the bit at this point. I would be losing my mind in that theater watching them kill the one character who can't die for the second time. Just thinking about Wade making fun of it is gonna make me laugh now. It's such a stupid thing to do, but exactly my kind of humor and something I need to see. Hype him up as someone who can't die, only to just kill him right away again? It's once in a lifetime opportunity right there. Please don't let me down. And finally, the big one. If there's only one cameo that we get in this movie, I need it to be this. Do me a favor, close your eyes, imagine this scenario I'm gonna paint for you. All hope is lost. It seems like Cassandra is gonna win and beat Deadpool and Wolverine to a pulp. Then, from off screen, all you hear is, "Do you need a hand?" Wade looks up to see Chris Evans. Now, Captain America is one of the few heroes that Deadpool actually respects and is a fan of because Steve treats him seriously. So imagine his surprise when his hero is actually standing there by his side to help, only for the disappointment to set in on Wade's face when it's actually Chris Evans as the Human Torch. I'm far from the first person to come up with this, but come on, you gotta admit it would be so funny. It may be even funnier if it's not either of them and it's literally just Chris Evans playing himself. He's already done it before once in Free Guy, another movie directed by Sean Levy starring Ryan Reynolds. I would love it so much if they did this huge meta joke with Chris like that. It'd also be amazing for me personally to see him back in the MCU again in a way that doesn't touch Steve's legacy. I'm willing to do unspeakable things for a moment like that on screen. And it's not too late. I'll personally pay for it. We can film it right now, Ryan. Please return my calls. With Deadpool and Wolverine less than a week away, I could not be more excited. It seems like it's going to be one of the MCU's best movies from everything we've seen thus far, and a film that will help get general audiences back on board with the franchise. For me, I love how little we know about the film. Honestly, I really hope all my predictions are wrong here. I'd love to just go in this movie and have every aspect of it surprise me. I can't wait to be in that theater on day one and have my mind blown watching what at one point was just a pipe dream now coming to life before my very eyes. Maybe I'm being a bit overdramatic, but this is the most I've been excited for a movie in a long time. No matter what happens, Deadpool and Wolverine is about to be a cultural event and I am so seated. The theater employees are scared and asking me to leave because the movie isn't out for another week, but I'm simply too seated. Thank you all for watching though. Hope you enjoyed the video and liked my theories on the movie. What do you think? Did I cook? Am I way off? Let me know down in the comments below, along with any theories you have for Deadpool and Wolverine. I would love to hear what everyone has to say. If you want to see more videos like this, you can click right here and make sure to subscribe to not miss the next one. I'm going to have a lot of Deadpool and Wolverine videos on the channel in the coming weeks, from reviews to discussing the fallout and the future of the MCU, so make sure to stick around with that and hit that subscribe button. If you don't do it, they're going to remove Deadpool's mouth again, and that's going to suck. Also, you can come out of the shame corner now. Look at that, what a callback.